This video is just to provide a little bit of reinforcement on two key issues. The first and most important, and I've already mentioned this in one of the videos, as well as one of the audio presentations, as well as in the syllabus, and that is do not plagiarize. Plagiarism is academic theft, and it's also lying to me as the professor, as I've said in more than one place. Plagiarism is not acceptable. I will fail you. I will not listen to, oh, I made a mistake, I copied it in my notes and I forgot to write down where it came from. I always do good work. You'd be surprised, or maybe not, at the excuses that I get from folks that have plagiarized. It's almost like the cliche about how the dog ate my homework, but it's almost always something along the lines of, oh, I didn't mean to do it, I tried so hard not to plagiarize, which I'm not quite sure why one has to try very hard, it's just you do it or you don't. But I copied stuff into my notes, and I copied it into the paper, and I didn't know where it came from. Well, you should know your own words. And you look at some notes and you don't know where they came from, that's problematic to begin with. But if you're taking notes, especially if you're cutting and pasting from an electronic source, which is usually where this stuff comes from, you should, cut and paste also, along with the information, the source of the information, and solve that problem. But really, I'm not going to accept that as an excuse for this notion that, I never have done this before, I always get A's, yada yada. I don't want to hear that. If you're going to copy and steal, you've copied and stolen, and it's over with. You will fail. Period. I've had people, for reasons I can't explain, as I mentioned in passing, in a past version of the course where an assignment was worth all of 5%. 5%, and they stole the material and failed the course over 5% of their grade. It makes no sense. I've had people on papers, on question sets, whatever, depending on the iteration of the course over time, who cut and paste, and they fail. Period. Of a special mystery to me are those who will steal from Wikipedia. Obviously, people who were cutting and pasting stuff from Wikipedia are in a hurry, they're desperate, and they really shouldn't be in the class. If they don't have time to do anything but that, they shouldn't be in the class. It is not unusual for me to find Wikipedia sourcing embedded into the text. It's not that hard to find. Turnitin finds it pretty easily. And really, if I'm suspicious of something, I can also search on Google and find it myself that way. This is not difficult for me to discover. Don't do it. I'm begging you. I'd get on my hands and knees, but it'd be undignified. But I'm telling you, don't do it. And speaking of Wikipedia, let me emphasize again my Wikipedia policy. If you actually pay no attention to me and cite Wikipedia anyway, you will be deducted 1 letter grade per citation of Wikipedia. It's not an adequate graduate school source. It's not really an adequate source for anything on balance of that's serious anyway, because we don't really know where the information came from. I'm not saying that there isn't sometimes useful information on Wikipedia. There often is. I've looked at Wikipedia, although usually it's for things like pop culture references or sports or something. Even then, I'd probably want me to look someplace else for it. It may even be for research. You might want to look at Wikipedia. It may point you someplace else. That's perfectly fine. But it is not in and of itself. The text in those articles is not sufficient. Period. So please do not use Wikipedia. Okay. And so this is your reinforcement. No one has any excuse now to plagiarize or to use Wikipedia because you've seen this and you've been just forewarned beyond all words.